Welcome, everyone. I'm John McGuire, founder and director of the Kinesiology Institute, and I'm so thrilled that you're joining me today. We're going to be sharing a lot of valuable techniques, so get ready to write down notes because I'll give you some practical skills that you can use right away, particularly if you're in practice or for your own benefit. Now, we're going to present techniques from a course called AK Fundamentals. AK stands for Applied Kinesiology. And I'll be talking a little bit about the origins of applied kinesiology and how you can benefit from using this in a practice. Before we get started, I always like to do a little warm-up technique, which will switch on your ears. It'll activate your energy and bring more acupuncture meridian energy known as qi into your body. So the first thing I want you to do is turn your head to one side and then the other, and just see if one side's stiffer or if they're both stiff. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take the rolled over part of the ears and unroll them, bringing them stretched out like this as you breathe deeply. Just keep going from the top of the ear down, and you're kind of making your ears like they're Dumbo ears. And what this does is it switches on the acupuncture meridian energy, which the ears act as antennae to bring this qi, this flow of bioelectrical energy into the body and circulate it. Now, what often happens is when you do this, it also releases stress in the neck. So let's see after we do it a few times. And again, breathing deeply is always good because the breath, it also activates energy flow into the body. So now turn your head again and see if you got more range of motion. Oh, wow. I got a lot more. Okay. Now there's another thing I like to do. It's called the thymus thump. You're going to tap right about where your second button is on your shirt and breathe deeply. This activates life force into the body because the thymus gland is also a regulator of that. The thymus gland is spoken about in John Diamond's book, Life Energy. And I find it's a great way. I start every day with this right before my meditations. Okay, a couple other things I like to do is one, I'm going to have you touch your belly button here, and the other hand's going to be right under the collarbone, right off the sternum. And I want you to look from side to side with your eyes and then look up and around and down. Dr. Goodhart, who founded Applied Kinesiology, who was my instructor, called the points right here, they're called kidney 27. That's the last point, 27th point on the kidney meridian. And he called these the switchboard operators of the body. And whenever you're confused or under stress, these are great things to do. Okay? All right. So now what I'm going to do is give you a little of my history. And also we're going to then demonstrate techniques. Now, some of you have perhaps already taken the AK fundamentals, and I'll be then giving you a special offer at the end, so listen for that. As well as for you that are new to applied kinesiology, I'll be sharing also a way that you can save $200 plus get a $200 credit on future courses and get a consultation with me valued at $200 if you enroll now. So this course that we're going to be presenting, we'll talk about later, but a lot of the skills I'm going to show you are from that course. So we're going to give you first a little bit of my background. I started as a holistic health practitioner. Back in 1979, I got a degree in holistic health, which was pretty new back then. And I was so excited to share these skills. I learned a lot about humanistic psychology. I learned massage and techniques there. I learned about nutrition, but I didn't have a way of knowing what to do when. And as I became a body worker, I was doing techniques similar to Rolfing, a 10-session program, which was fantastic, but it wasn't always the best thing. And there were a lot of things I was missing. I wanted to be a true holistic practitioner. Well, then I had the phenomenal opportunity to study with Dr. George Goodhart, the founder of Applied Kinesiology. And that year-long training program where I got certified at the end totally revolutionized my practice because it showed me what to do when, and it eliminated the guesswork by learning muscle testing as a assessment or diagnostic tool to find out where energy is blocked in the body and what technique will unblock that energy, or what system, because often, even in structural imbalances, as a body worker, I'm always looking at the structural imbalances, and I'll show you how to analyze that in a moment. There's times where a structural imbalance is influenced by a psychological state the person's in, a stress state, or a nutritional imbalance. So that's where you're going to learn today how you can discern what's going on. Is there a nutritional factor? Is there a structural factor or a psychological factor that could be in play? So that, again, revolutionized my practice. I grew triple. By the end of that year, I had 3 times more clients. Clients were coming to me from other states, and I became known as the guy that could handle difficult cases that nobody else was handling, because I was gifted to study applied kinesiology from the master. So at the end of that program, I became a Touch for Health instructor. Now, some of you might be familiar with Touch for Health or have taken it. And Touch for Health was John Fee's work. He was one of the first original chiropractors that studied with Goodhart and helped to found the applied kinesiology organization called International College of Applied Kinesiology. So he wrote the bylaws for that. We told Dr. Goodhart, all these techniques are so great for the docs, but what about lay people? What about paraprofessionals, people that don't have a license to diagnose? We need to get these skills out to them. Brilliant, phenomenal thing that he did. He wrote the Touch for Health book. Well, I became the most active instructor in Touch for Health in the United States, and they brought me to Pasadena from Akron, Ohio, to be on the faculty of the Touch for Health Foundation, training other people to teach Touch for Health. And I taught it throughout the United States, Canada, Mexico, then went over and brought it to Russia and to Italy. So I taught the first instructor trainings there. The challenge was, though, there were so many great techniques from Dr. Goodhart and applied kinesiology that weren't part of Touch for Health. So in 1991, I created the Kinesiology Institute, where I brought the best of both realms. So then I started my certification program. And then in 1994, I was very greatly gifted and honored to become part of Tony Robbins' Life Mastery University, where I still teach today. I'm on my 29th year. And Tony brings the best techniques available and also the best instructors. So again, I was so honored. So he has me teaching muscle testing and the basics of applied kinesiology to activate energy. So today, I'm now bringing you some of the best of the program applied kinesiology fundamentals that you can share. So let's get started. And by the way, I want you to send questions in. There's a button you can click on and submit questions, because I want to answer as many as possible in the hour that we have together. So let's first give you a little understanding of what applied kinesiology is. Applied kinesiology uses muscle testing as an assessment tool to find out where structural imbalances are, as well as energetic and nutritional imbalances. It basically tells you where is there stress and where is there energy flow. Now, each muscle in your body, Goodhart discovered, is associated with an organ and an acupuncture meridian. This is brilliant because it revolutionized our healthcare system. See, when you have, like, say, pain on the inside of your knee, that's often due to adrenal stress, where when the adrenals are stressed, the adrenal glands, they are associated with the triple warmer meridian and the sartorius and gracilis muscle. So if there's a stress on that, it then makes the knees imbalanced, where you'll get like a knock-kneed posture. Now, when that happens, in fact, when you're nervous, your adrenal glands are stressed. So what happens? Your knees knock because the muscles are not doing their job to hold the knee in place. So with each basically symptom that a person has, there are indications of, oh, that sounds like this muscle or that muscle or that muscle, because symptoms are merely the sign that the body is out of balance energetically and structurally. Now, the good news is this: when you balance the energy, symptoms will often go away naturally. And that's where this is so great for pain. We've had so many people, including myself, when I learn these techniques, I just hardly ever have pain that I have to deal with now, and I can get rid of it really quickly. In fact, another kinesiologist, he wrote the book Applied Kinesiology, Robert Frost, just called me an hour ago, and he said, John, what's the pain relief point for gallbladder? And I said, oh, it's gallbladder 43. He says, great, I got this guy, he was over in southern Mexico, and he had a guy he needed to declare stress for. And I go, oh, it's this. He said, great, it worked fantastic. And so even when I'm presenting at Tony Robbins, they'll give me people in live events where they're in a lot of pain, and often in 30 seconds to within 5 minutes, I can almost always get them out of severe pain because I know where's the energy block. I unblock the energy, the pain goes away naturally. So that's the great news. With this stuff, you can just get really great pain relief, but also performance. We've had so many of our practitioners that and students that go on to work with world-class athletes and get phenomenal results, even some that have set world records after working with these techniques with their clients. So it's great for that performance enhancement. So again, we're learning the primary, here's the primary functional basis of applied kinesiology. We do muscle testing to assess the structural and energetic balance of the body. When a manual muscle test, which I'll be demonstrating in a moment, when a muscle test's weak, that's a sign of energy blockages. And then we can find out what will switch that on. Another technique, or let's say distinction, is called the opposing muscle theory. See, the body goes out of balance structurally. When one muscle gets weak, the opposing muscle gets tight. So say a shoulder. If the shoulder is higher, it's often a latissimus dorsi that holds the shoulder down is inhibited or weak. And the opposing muscle, which is the upper trapezius, gets tight, which is why a lot of people have tight upper traps because of their weak lats. Now, the latissimus dorsi relates to the pancreas. And one of the things the pancreas does is it secretes insulin. So when a person is eating a lot of sugar, has too much sugar in their diet or starchy carbs, it stresses the lats to where they then become inhibited, and then the upper traps get tight. So instead of like in massage, we learn, oh, just find all the tight muscles and massage them. Well, if you don't switch on the inhibited muscles, the tightness will come back. So that was another revolutionary discovery that Goodhart made. Rather than looking for the tight muscles, start with at least the inhibited muscles. And in our Applied Kinesiology Fundamental course, we go through each of the meridians and muscles that are associated with that, as well as the switches that will activate the energy flow and remove the imbalances. So it's great for massage therapists doing this. This is where, I came from that massage background, as well as chiropractors, physical therapists, personal trainers. But it's great for everyone. I mean, we have a lot of students. One woman was a structural engineer, didn't do any body work, had no background in any of this. She went to an applied kinesiologist after having years of problems that nobody else was fixing, and in one session totally got better. And she goes, wow, this is fantastic. Where can I learn this? Well, she found my courses, completed my certification program, and then has now gone on to have a full-time, very successful practice as a kinesiologist because she learned, hey, this is pretty easy stuff to do, and it gets results fast where other systems often don't. So we have this holistic triangle that Goodhart called the triad of health: structure on the bottom, then you have chemistry, biochemistry on the side here, and then mental and emotional here. Because there's often mental and emotional issues that people have, which Goodhart named a term emotional low back. He worked in Detroit, Michigan, with a lot of the motor executives like Ford and GM, and he found a lot of them were under tremendous stress in production and meeting their numbers, and they'd have low back pain. And he noticed this, there's a connection between the psychological and the physical. So every part of the triangle affects every other. We go further in depth than that in our AK Fundamentals course. So we got the triad of health, we got the opposing muscle theory, and understanding that muscles relate to organs and meridians. So that's your base of knowledge here that applied kinesiology is based on. Now, another good thing about AK is it pulls from all these other disciplines within that context. Like AK is like a bowl, and you can put all these techniques in it. So good news is anything else you've studied, whether it's cranial sacral, Rolfing, deep tissue work, any kind of body work, you can fit in to know what to do when, because it's another valuable way to balance energy. So you don't have to throw away everything or anything else you've done. You can bring it into the whole bowl of effective techniques. So I'm going to present Lance is here in the house today. And so in a moment, we're going to bring Lance up, and we're going to take a look at first analyzing his posture, and then I'll demonstrate what you could learn and apply in our AK Fundamentals course. That is a really valuable way to quickly, and often just minutes, add this to your approach. Or many people do this as their full approach as they get more based in this. And we have other advanced courses where we go further. So Lance, are you ready to get going here? We're going to bring you up and see what we find. All right, so I guess we'll have you first over here, and then we'll analyze your posture, okay? So let's take a look, folks, and see if we notice anything. So as he's standing here, first thing I'm noticing is the shoulder is higher on this side. And anything going on with this shoulder?
It's an old injury.
Okay, an old injury. We'll look at the injury recall technique then with this. And then I'm also going to check the level of the hips. We see that the left hip is higher than the right. So this could be a weak gluteus medius. We're going to confirm that, but that's one thing we're going to look at. And then we see that here. Okay, so I'm going to just look at the spine. It's looking pretty good back here. So let's get you on the table now and take a look. Now, first thing I'm going to give you a clue is how to do accurate muscle testing. Muscle testing is at the base of this, and some people they're easier to test than others. So first I explained to him, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put gentle pressure, gradual increasing pressure on your arm down like this, and you're going to hold with the elbow straight, meeting my pressure. Okay, drop down a little more. So a little lower angle here. Now, when I push, I want you to meet my pressure. Ready and hold. And it's a gradual increasing pressure following through, like starts just the weight of my hand and a little more, a little more, a little more, to about, say, 6 to 8 pounds, at least, at least 2. Now, what I get to do, there's ways to switch off the muscle, and I got a magnet here. The green dot is the North Pole. If I put that right on the anterior deltoid, which is the muscle I'm testing, hold, and as I push, see it goes down. That's what it should do. If it didn't, then there's techniques we teach in our course how to get an accurate test. So now what I'm going to have him do is I'm going to start with these points on the head. We showed this in the class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch right here. Okay, let's have you move down just a couple inches down. A little more, that's good. Okay, so when I touch here, that is a point that tells me if the wood element is out of balance. In Chinese medicine, the wood element relates to gallbladder and liver. Then I touch over here, meet my pressure. He's fine there. That's the fire element in the 5 elements. And I touch back here. This is the earth element. And just behind the head here, I'll show a skeleton where I'm touching in a bit, so you'll know. Oh, and he goes weak there. Now I'm going to touch over here on the other side. That was the earth element. And now that's metal. He's good there. This is water element. So these points are articulations on the cranium. Again, we cover this in the course. That's central, and this is governing. So those are both clear. But he shows back here. So when I touch here and he goes weak, I'm going to say the word spleen, which is the spleen meridian, and he goes from weak to strong. So that's telling me spleen meridian needs to be addressed. The spleen is a priority under energy, because we always want to work with priorities. Now I touch here again and say stomach. It didn't change. So again, when I don't say anything, he's weak. Stomach stays weak. Spleen goes strong. So his body, So what muscle testing does, it tells what's going on in the outside, what's really going on in the inside. So I now know spleen has an imbalance. Now, by the way, the latissimus dorsi that we suspected from his posture is related to the spleen meridian and the pancreas organ. So what I can do here is I can go right over here with the elbow locked. I'm going to push straight out and you hold it in. Okay, ready and hold. And there it goes. You're holding, huh? He's a big, strong guy. That's like nothing there. Now, we also saw while we're at it, the gluteus medius, we had a suspicion that that was weak. Now, we test that by bringing and we show all this in our AK fundamentals. I'm going to push straight in and you hold it out. And that one ain't holding. Out of curiosity, let's check the opposite side. So lats, hold the elbow locked. Don't let me pull out. Whoa, pushing as hard as I can't budge him. And how about gluteus medius on this side? Ready and hold. Yeah, he's nice and strong. So there's something going on there. Now, he also mentioned an injury. We're going to show you a technique called injury recall technique today. And this is also in the course. We go in depth with that. And there's taking another muscle here. I'm using the fascia lata as an indicator muscle. Hold as I push. Now, an indicator muscle is any muscle that tests strong, and then you put another variable in the loop. So the variable is he's going to touch right here on the shoulder. Now I'm going to push again and see what happens. Hold. He stays strong. However, let's do another variable. While he's touching the shoulder, that's where the injury was, right? He's got that point. Again, he's strong. Now arch your head back. He arches the head back and see what happens. Totally goes weak. That's an indication of a technique called injury recall that needs to be done. We teach that in the class. I'll demonstrate it. So what he does, relax the head. And while he's touching the head, that's putting sensory input into the brain, particularly the cerebellum, which when I do this little routine, I'm going to bring him into, as he relaxes totally, into flexion and relax, flexion, relax. And you just breathe deeply. So you do that about 5 or 6 times. And it's clearing the memory of the injury that could make you susceptible to further injuries, as well as it causes stiffness in that joint. Now, I'm going to do another thing with the foot here. I'm going to take the ankle at the talus joint here, right at the talus. It's the mortise joint at the talus. And I'm going to pull down like this. And that separating the mortise joint also helps to relieve the stress. Because what happens is when you're, after an injury, I'm going to do a couple other things while he's touching there. The neck kind of, you cringe, you kind of, oh, and then they found that your mortise joint, your ankle pulls up. It's like you're going into protective mode, and it locks that memory of that injury. So when you're clearing it, it's like, okay, we're erasing it from the neurology. Now, what we're going to do is to make it even further supported, I'm tapping the stomach one, the first point on the stomach meridian, which you can do this on yourself. So you see where I'm at. It's right at the top, under the orbit of the eye, right on the top of the cheekbone there. And then I'm going to temporal tap, which is on the temporal sphenoidal line right here, and that locks it in. Okay, so now take the hand away for a second, put it back on there, and then see what happens when I do this again. Hold, and it's now strong, arching the head back. That's where we feel, and it stays strong. So that means we've cleared that. Now let's check. There's going to be points. This muscle we're going to balance now. Elbow locked. I'm going to push straight out. Okay. Now I'm going to show you what's called circuit location. Circuit locating, or therapy localization is the term they use in AK. So what I'm going to do is have you touch right here. And while he's touching here, I'm going to push out and see if it strengthens. Wow. See, what that says is that will bring energy to the muscle. Just touching it shows that's going to be a correction. Now I can also do this. These are called finger modes. We show this in the course as well. Each of these fingers accesses, this is from a guy named Alan Beardall, doctor from Oregon, that brilliantly figured this out. And he deduced it's basically that if you ever seen the homunculus drawing, the fingers have a lot of nerve endings going to parts of the brain. And even for you that have studied yoga, which is where I actually started as a yoga instructor, then got my holistic health degree, and then became a body worker, they have these what are called mudras, where you have your fingers touching the thumb in different positions, and that actually activates a level of energy flow. So I'm going to check again to see which ones switch on. So in touching the thumb to the index finger and pushing out, hold. Oh, you like that, which is basically what I just found, neural lymphatics. This is the nutrition finger, the thumb to the middle finger, pad to pad. I'm going to test again. Hold. It didn't strengthen. So it's not a nutritional factor. So we know there's structure going on there. This is the emotional. So see what happens here. Hold as I push. Oh, that strengthened it. Interesting. And now this is the energy, which is acupressure points, and hold, and that strengthens it. So now I can find which acupressure point, and if emotional stress release will work, I'll show you how to discern that. Now there's points on the body, and we teach this again in the fundamentals, that will tonify a meridian. And this happens to be spleen 2 is the tonification point, the second point on the spleen meridian. It's down on the foot. I don't know if we can see this in the overhead. Let's see here.
Super well.
Okay, well, he's going to show you here. It's going to be right at that knuckle on the inside at the base here, right here. I can show it on this foot too so you can see it. That there. So I'm going to touch that point and see if it switches on the weak muscle. Hold as I push. Oh, wow, it does. So I now know what acupressure point, what neurolymphatic point, which is right here, this between the 7th and 8th rib. And let's have you touch right up here, Lance. These are the emotional stress release technique. And hold. Yeah. So we got a stress release that we're going to do. So let's do, I'll have you rub right in here, and then I'll work the points on the back. The points on the back are between the 7th and 8th ribs, right off the spine in what's called the lamina groove. So I'm about an inch off the spine, and either of those points tender, Lance?
No.
Okay. And breathe deeply. The greater the tenderness, the greater the extent of the blockage. So now let's see what we got here. Okay. Now let's do the acupressure point down there. You can relax the other hand now. So you're doing about 30 to 60 seconds. And then I'm just going to put a little pressure here, or even touching lightly with 2 fingers. And as you breathe deeply, that also helps the energy to flow. Now let's see what we've got here. One other technique we teach, and I have one of my students, he works with Olympic teams, high-level world-class professional athletes. And he says, you know, John, one of the things that really helps is tracing the meridian. So you go from beginning right along the body to the end, just lightly touching. And this is the spleen meridian. You can try this on yourself as you're watching. It's the inside edge of the big toe, coming up the inside of the legs, goes out just almost to the shoulder and down like this. So I generally do that 3 times. Now, got any stress going on?
Yes.
Think of your number one stressor. You got that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, while you think of that, hold your arm up. Thinking of the stressor, and bingo, that says that's energy blockage. Now, what I do, and you can do this along with me as you're watching, I'm touching very lightly on the forehead. The points they're called the frontal eminences. They're bumps. If you go about, say, 2-3 fingers width above your eyebrow, they're right there, and you touch very lightly and then slightly tug up on the skin and breathe slowly and deeply. And then the basis of this is you just notice what the stressor is while you relax and just observe, just kind of witness it. Now, if you want to, you can talk about it, but you don't have to. It's part of the value of this. A client can have something personal going on with them, and they don't have to share what's going on. But if they like to, it helps to release the energy blockage. So physiologically, what you're doing is when you're touching here, It's activating the prefrontal cortex, which is the new association area that takes whatever you're holding in the back of your brain out of that part of the brain where the stress is and allowing you to be free from it, clear it. So especially as you relax and notice it, just notice what you saw, Lance, if there's any visuals there. And notice any other things you've heard from people about it, sounds, or what you're telling yourself. And just relax, breathing deeply as I touch the points, and just observe them like they're thoughts floating by in a river or clouds floating by in the sky, whatever you told yourself, just to notice that. Notice any body sensations and where you hold that stress. And notice the emotions around that and just allow them to be there and observe them. Take a deep breath in. And how would you like to feel about this situation?
Productive, light.
Great. So feel a lightness in your body and then see yourself being productive. Feel what it's like to be fully productive in that state of energy flow and lightness. You got that? Can you feel that? Great. So just see your day going well, being fully productive, active, energized. And then when you feel complete with that, knowing that it's so, let me know and we'll recheck. Deep breath in, you got it? All right. Okay, let's have you think about that situation again that you were thinking of earlier and hold your arm up. You got that? Hold as I push. Totally strong now. Now let's see what happens when we recheck the lats. I'm going to push out and you hold. Excellent. That's strong. Now let's check the gluteus medius. See, that was earlier. A point we checked. You're going to push in, and then we'll answer questions. And oh, boy, that's strong now. See, sometimes if you balance the priority, other muscles will balance. Now I'm going to check the head point back here that was originally out, and that's cleared. See, so we did this all, I'm explaining it and all, but you could do this whole balance in like 10, 12 minutes. So what we could do, let's check a few other things I like to check in the course here. This is a technique called the ileocecal valve. I'm going to point in at this valve between the small and large intestine and see if it's out. Oh, and it is. Now I'm going to push up and in like this. Oh, and that's strong. So that's a sign that the ileocecal valve is open. You have anything's going on in your gut, in your digestion, elimination?
Not anything particular.
Not anything particular? Okay. Any disturbances, say, in your sleep?
Yeah, having just the lack of, yes.
Lack of, okay. Sometimes that can be produced by this. And there's a myriad of other symptoms. But in this case, I'm going to have you push up and in like this and just hold it towards the other shoulder. And then there's some reflexes here. Folks, if you want to, you can check this too. I teach this at the Tony Robbins program, is if you push up and in, see if that feels better. And if it doesn't, push down and out and see if that feels better. And if it doesn't particularly, you don't need to do it. But if it's out, it's commonly pushing up and in towards the other shoulder, helps to close the valve. Now, this valve is the trapdoor between the small and large intestine. And often we have, let's say, fecal matter seeping back into your small intestine, which is like the kitchen area of your body, and the dumpster area of your body is the large intestine. So you're getting toxins that are then reabsorbed in the blood and could create like headaches, commonly low back pain, inflammation in your joints, sleep disturbances, right shoulder pain, many, many different symptoms. And so this is the point right under the hip here is where I'm rubbing, and then right up on the head of the shoulder here. Breathing deeply. And then there's one on the neck right here. And do we have any questions coming up?
Yes, we had a couple, some very, it's more related to what we're doing than others, so we can come back to some others later.
Okay.
But this was kind of just about, it was about, I think, balances in general, but specifically about the
See if that's clear.
emotional stress release, which is,
Okay.
can you check to see if the balance will hold or not, or how can you tell how long the balance will hold?
Great. So first I'm going to show the ileocecal valve is now, when I recheck, that's good. And the question is, how long will it last whenever you're doing balancing? Well, that's a great question. And John Thie always answered it this way. He said, well, it's like this. Mrs. Fafufnik had a garbage disposal that wasn't working. Well, she gets the repairman out and he looks at the circuit breaker and the switches and the wiring. Everything's looking good. Gets his flashlight and looks down in the garbage disposal and says an avocado pit wedged in there. So he knocks the avocado pit out, presses the reset button, boom, it fires right up. Well, of course, Mrs. Fafufnik, after he says that, I fixed your garbage disposal, that'll be $200 or whatever. Well, how long is your repair job going to last? She asked. And he had to tell her, until you get another avocado pit in there. So what's causing these symptoms in the first place is what we're looking at. Is it your diet? And put these three words down. L-E-T. L is living. So primarily, are you getting enough sleep? Lance, are you getting enough sleep?
No.
No. Okay. Well, I'm going to ask his body. Getting at least, this is yes or no question. Watch this. So I see body, give me a yes. Body, give me a no. Okay. At least 7 hours of sleep is necessarily 7.5, 8. So 7.5. So whatever time you got to get up in the morning, would you be willing to put a line, a timer, whatever that gets you to sleep at that hour, or at least have a nap during the day that you get your 7.5 in?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's a key. And also exercise. I know he just came from the gym earlier, so proper exercise. It's the living, like your lifestyle. You're getting enough rest. You're getting enough fun, recreation, those things. Now, the eating, of course, is a primary one. We cover that in our biochemical course, and that is basically eating the right foods, particularly organic, around the perimeter of the market and in the organic section, eliminating particularly starchy carbs and refined foods or processed foods. You do that and you're really so much better. And like a lot of people eliminating grains, like bread particularly. Then you've got your sugar. Sugar is the big one, particularly high fructose corn syrup and sugars and drinks, or Starbucks with all that syrupy, sugary stuff. It's really bad. That's like a death sentence if you're going to Starbucks every day drinking that stuff. So eliminate that from your diet. Now, then there's also supplement addition. We can cover that in the biochemical course. Most people, essential fatty acids are great for supplementing. I take Udo's oil and omega-3s. The omega-3s really key. And another key one often is vitamin D. If you're not getting enough sun, so much better with vitamin D. And then just for mentioning it, if you think of ACEs, that's A, C, E, and selenium. Those are your antioxidants. And eliminate CATs. That's caffeine, alcohol, tobacco, and sugar. You do those two things, you'll live a lot longer. So that's that part. So the more you do all that, the more your balances will last. So you have to be aware of what are they doing that's causing this in the first place. And that's often what you can detect. Now, often the injury recall, that lasts ongoingly until you bump it or injure it again. And then your diet again can affect that. So how are you doing on that ends of sugar and starchy carbs? Is there anything going on there that you would maybe want to make a move towards?
I can
eliminating?
definitely improve. It's in and out.
Okay. The more you can let that go. Now, here's what I do is when I go to the market, I actually test myself. I'll give you a little clue. It's a sway test. So I hold a product, and if I sway back, I put it back on the shelf. That's the body, the energy. See, everything has an energy frequency. And when you hold a food, And for me, when I sway back, that is my body saying, that's not good for me. I grab another food and I'll hold it. And if I go forward, that's the vibrational field that's saying, yeah, this is good for you. I'll put it in my cart. And I even do that in the morning when I go to, pull both my protein powders and other parts of my smoothie or what I'm putting in the smoothie. Also my berries, organic berries, I'll see or I'll smell. In fact, teas too. I'll do that with herbal teas. And I'll smell, and sometimes it's not so good. If it doesn't like even budge forward, then I'm not going to drink it that day. But if I'll smell, like I had echinacea tea last night, and I smelled, and I went right forward. So I said, great. So that way you can test yourself. So those are some of the keys. I want to show you head points here too. I promised you the head points. This is right here on the glabella, right where the nasal bone meets the frontal bone between the eyebrows. That would be the fire element. If you touch there and it goes weak. Over here, this is where you're touching right where the frontal bone meets the sphenoid bone, right behind your eyebrow, right up here. That would be the fire element on the right. Back here, this is where the parietal bone meets the occiput and the temporal bone, sort of behind your ear. There's a little flat spot here. This is where you have the earth element that Lance had out. On the other side, it's the metal element. And then back up here on the left side, that's the water element. Conception vessel or central meridian would be under energy if you're here. And back here is the governing meridian. And we teach this all in the course. And these, when they go weak, a strong muscle goes weak, that's an indication of low energy. It's a great shortcut. In fact, when I was teaching Touch for Health, we taught a technique to find the priority over and under energy. And it ended up being, it would take 15 minutes to figure out that. And this way you're taking 15 seconds. So I love shortcuts. Get to it quicker and faster. Okay, so let's, I want to answer more questions in a bit. Before I do, I want to go to the course. And Lance, why don't we stand up now and let's see if your posture has shifted at all back to where we started. And how are you feeling when, let's see here. Oh, look, the shoulders are balanced. So that worked. How's your shoulder and your body feeling from before we started?
A little more connected.
Yeah, and the hips are balanced too. Great. Fab. Why don't you have a seat now? And if we need you, we'll bring you back up so you feel more connected.
Mm-hmm.
Good. And you didn't really have any pain, right?
No.
At the time? Yeah. But he has had pain. We've worked on him over the years here. And there's times where you had some massive pain, right?
True.
Yeah. Okay. And you're now out of it. So we are doing right stuff to keep you. Now that's fine tuning. See, that's another thing. With myself included, I get at least a session every month, sometimes every week, if I can. And that way, when you keep yourself in balance, you keep yourself in peak health and performance, as well as longevity. My oldest client lived to be 108 years old, and I would see her on a regular basis. By the way, she happened to know, because she was born in 1890, she happened to know Thomas Edison as a little girl. And one time at the end of a session, she said to me, "John, you're doing what my old friend Thomas Edison said the doctor of the future will do. The doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will educate his clients in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease." And that's what we do here. So it's a great honor I had to someone that actually knew Thomas Edison, that made and associated that what you're doing in applied kinesiology and Touch for Health is that very thing. So we are doing the future of medicine. In fact, even Dr. Oz said the future of medicine is energy medicine, is vibrational medicine, because we're working with frequencies. And the cause of these diseases and illnesses is back to living, eating, and thinking. And that's what we teach our clients. We teach them good living, but rather than being an educator, their body is teaching them that. So when they think of a food, or we have these vials we show in our biochemical course, and that frequency is on their body, or they're even the thought of it, and they go weak, or if they can have the smell of the food is better, or the taste, and they go weak, it's their body saying, this weakens me, this lowers my energy. So we stay away from that. Okay, so can we go to the course then? And we're going to show the webpage. So the webpage is on kinesiologyinstitute.com. And you'll see here, we have the page that is where you'll click on the AK fundamentals. And I can send you a link. Do we have a link to this that we can put up to them? So that might be there in your feed. And when you go here, you'll see the course. Now, right now, we're offering $200 off the course, normally $597. So we've got it at $397. But what you're also going to get if you enroll in our Black Friday special that we're running now, you will get, and it starts now, you will get, as we giving you this course, you'll get this class that is basically going to give you 16 hours of CEUs from National Certification Board, if you happen to need those, as many massage therapists do. So you get the 16 hours when you complete it. And as we scroll down here, you're also going to get a $200 credit on any other courses for free. You can apply that to, we have another course that's $200. We have our sports kinesiology. You can get $200 off that. So that's a great program too. And you'll see here what we do in each of those 16 sessions. Rather than going over all of them right now, you'll basically see that you're going to cover the various meridians and the elements that are the basis of applied kinesiology and how to bring them back into balance. Now, in addition, for the first 5 that enroll, and you'd see the button there you would click on that you can, then when you click on that and enroll, besides getting the $200 credit, you're also going to get a $200 valued consultation with me. So we can schedule a time for the first 5 that enroll, and you'll also get that time where I will work with either business questions you have or personal health issues or issues with your clients that I can give you that additional coaching. So that's for the first 5 that enroll from here. Now, if you go down further, you'll see there's ways you'll benefit. You can read all this later, things about me. I've been teaching this now for 40 years, so I'm getting it down. And I have a wealth of clinical experience from the thousands of people I've worked on that you can draw from. And then you'll see, if you go further down, you'll see, again, some of the testimonials of people that have studied with me and what they've gotten. And again, you can enroll. So I encourage you to take this opportunity, because we've never done this before, and we don't plan on doing it again, to get that $200 credit plus the opportunity to get the consult with me and get the $200 off the course and get your 16 CEUs. So I also, just to note, for you that will want to see, we're going to do another event tomorrow where I'm going to go into another course. And then each day from going through here to Black Friday, I'm going to be presenting other courses that we do. And if you're on Facebook or YouTube and you want to make sure you get notices of that, you can also send a message to support@kinesiologyinstitute.com. So the word support at KINESIOLOGY institute.com and say, I want to be notified of all of your free webinars that will be introducing the courses and the one-time only Black Friday offers that we're giving you that are going to be tremendous savings to really master this stuff, to have a much more profound effectiveness in your work with people, more success in your practice. So many people have said, boy, like one woman mentioned after studying the certification programs, she opened a practice and with 2 locations making over $100,000 a year. And a lot of our students say that. One guy's like getting $300 a session that he's able to help, and particularly like world-class athletes. So there's a lot more financial gain you can get. But the biggest gain of all is when you have people, as I often do and my students do, is you say, wow, my life, my pain is gone. My life is so much better. I've even had people say that they were on the verge of death and their health totally restored, and they're alive now several years later after getting work done with me. So let's hear some more questions, and then we'll try and wind up here in a few minutes. And then again, we'll recommend you jump in now to get those extra bonuses by signing up for the AK Fundamentals. Another question.
All right. So this is from Arna. This is pretty related to what we're doing. How do you do the injury recall or these clearings if your client can't lie supine because of for whatever reason?
Okay, great question. If you're doing an injury recall technique and they can't lie down, in fact, I'll often do it even on myself sitting up, where if I just have them relax your head, and either they want to be touching the point of the body, like if they're, say, have a hip problem, they're touching the hip, and then you just move their head for them. You're just picking it up, just say, relax your head. And they can be doing it sitting as well. Could potentially do it prone, supine, even standing. So that's a great question, easy to do, whatever position they're in. Yes, next question.
Sorry. All right, from Cynthia, does this have to be done in person?
Very good question. Does it have to be done in person? Actually, we teach remote balancing in a lot of our courses, where I've even had students overseas. I had a guy in Paris that I worked with. I've had people, and our students, they're doing balances. A lot of them, they primarily do this. I had one woman, she was in Florida, and she said, John, my doctors here aren't helping me, particularly my conventional Western doctors. They're not helping me, and I'm having so much problems. I've been having these challenges for a month. And so I did a session with her remote, like on Zoom, like we're doing, and ended up being, it was like ileocecal valve. I found several things out, just like I was doing with Lance, but I was testing remotely. And we teach that in our courses, that you can find out what's going on in them by testing yourself as they touch points in that. And we corrected her ileocecal valve and several other things. And the next day she says, wow, this was a lifesaver. I'm totally well now. I didn't need to go to the emergency room. So yes, to answer your question. Next.
Right. Can you please explain what tonification is for those who don't know?
Very good question. Tonification. What is tonification? Tonification is a term in acupuncture and Chinese medicine that means let's get the energy flowing into that meridian. It's bringing up, like tonifying a muscle, it's, bringing it strength, it's bringing energy flow in. And then there's also certain points when there's too much energy in a meridian. Because see, meridians should all have like a relatively balance between them. Well, sometimes there's too much in one and not enough in another, like in a beaver dam, where there's water damming up on one side and none on the other. So we like to balance it. So on the low end side, we tonify, or the high end side, we sedate. So that's what we're doing, is balancing energy. Next question.
Is there a spiritual element to what you do?
Is there a spiritual element to what we do? Well, in our psychological realm and our psychological certification program, which we will be having a webinar coming up on that. So be sure to stay tuned. And again, if you're not on our mailing list, or you want to make sure you get that notice, email me at support@kinesiologyinstitute.com, and we'll make sure you get that notice. And in that course, we deal with David Hawkins' program. If you've heard of Power versus Force, let me show you. I have his map of consciousness here. And in a sense, spiritual is frequency. And when we're in higher realms of frequency, outside of our ego mind, which is in the lower realms of consciousness, into our spiritual element, where we're in essence all united, we are clearing out the things that hold us down. So to answer your question, yes, there is, for people that want to go there, there is this, but you don't have to go into the spiritual aspect. For some people, they say, well, this isn't what I want to go into, but you can still get all the work done by doing the basics of the structural, chemical, and mental emotional. But yes, there is, for those that want to go further, that's particularly in our psychological course where we go into that. A couple more questions we got time for. And if you don't get your question answered, send it to support at Kinesiology Institute, and we'll make sure you get that. Okay, another question?
All right, so we've got a few more. None of these are too related to what we did today, but they're just kind of questions.
Okay, well, give us one more, and then if you want, before you got to leave, we'll run all the rest and I'll finish them.
Sounds good. Please share some self-care techniques for those of us who don't have a doctor who practices AK.
Okay, it's a great question. And in our course, by the way, we have 4 lessons, 4 hours of training in the AK fundamentals on self-care, what you can do for yourself. So first of all, back to the eating, living, and thinking is self-muscle testing. And if you want to try this right now with me, the sway test, legs a little further and shoulder width apart, and let your body sway forward and back. And then think of a happy thought in the word, just feel as you think the word yes, 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 happy thought in your gut, and see if you lean forward. Usually that's what people will find. Then think of the word no and feel frustration and see if you lean back. Well, for self-care, if you start with just testing all your food, that makes a tremendous difference. And I find once even weight loss, if you just eliminate, for you that want to lose weight, if you eliminate the foods that make you sway back and you eat the foods that sway forward, that's great right there. Now, we also show the emotional stress release points. These are ones I do more than any else. I touch here lightly, take some slow, deep breaths, and whatever's going on with me, just notice it as it's outside of you, and that helps clear stress, because stress is probably the most damaging thing, that along with eating sugar and refined carbs, those are the most damaging things for your health. Now, a lot of it is just let it go. Write those 3 words down. Let it go. Because we hold on to things. If you hold on to resentment for someone, it's like drinking poison as you think of that and then hoping they die. You don't want to drink that poison. Just let it go. Be free from it. Next question, or you can give me a couple more, and then I can finish up with whatever else is on the board. And then we'll also remind you, go to kinesiologyinstitute.com, scroll down, and where you see the AK fundamentals, click on there. And that way, when you enroll, we're going to give you $200 off another course if you decide to go further, $200 off the normal tuition for the AK fundamentals. You're going to get basically 24, 25 hours of instruction, plus the ability to get your questions answered. And we really support you in getting this into your life to really make a difference. Okay, other questions on the board?
I think, do you mind doing a wrap up real quick? I'll
Yeah.
stop the recording, and then
Okay.
we'll get, maybe Lance can help read these questions.
All right. Okay, so what we're going to finish with now is just first thanking you for your commitment to your own health, to your own well-being, as well as your clients. And I look forward to having the opportunity to work with you further. So until then, thank you for making the Kinesiology Institute your best choice in health and wellness education. For you that want to stick around, we're going to stay alive. We did that. We got it done.
Yep.
Okay. Now, Lance, are you, can he see him over there and he can answer?
Do you mind? I wrote out all the questions.
Great.
Do you mind,
So Lance is going to pick us up here and show you what we got, and then I'll answer more
we'll
questions.
See them all here. If you don't mind giving them a read.
Can you see him, Lance? Do you need your glasses or you got them?
Please share different techniques that can be used for blockage of energy in the large intestine meridian.
Okay, great question. Large intestine meridian. So techniques that could clear blockage there. The neurolymphatic points are on the side of the thigh. So if you start like down at your knee and you just rub along like that, going all the way up. Try it right now, everyone. And if you find a tender spot, work on it longer. Okay. Oh, yeah, I found one. Now, that is really one of the most important things, because there's a book called Death Begins in the Colon, and you want to clear out that toxicity. Of course, eating properly, good food that's good and rich fiber, avoiding sugar. Sugar is often the bane of the large intestine and contributes to conditions that can lead to colon cancer. So you work all the way up to your hip. Now, there's another point on the side of the cranium, and you can say about 4 fingers width above your ears. We go over this much more in depth in the AK Fundamentals course. So as you're touching here, and you do some slow, deep breathing, just touching lightly, that stimulates blood flow to the large intestine. The points on the leg we just did stimulates lymphatic flow. The lymphatic system is your body's sewer system. So those are a couple things. And then we got one more here, the meridian trace that I'll share today. Though there's more techniques, is just tracing from the index finger up the back of the arm to the nose, like this. Okay. And what's the next question, Lance? So do that along with me. And
We share techniques for helping it to balance the adrenals. Many clients are overstressed.
yes. So the question being, what are some techniques to help the adrenals? Many clients are overstressed. Well, and often we're overstressed too. So first of all, in terms of lifestyle, getting enough sleep is so key. And that's a whole nother, we're going to do an all the webinar just on sleep. So we'll let you know when that's coming up, but make sure you're on our mailing list. And again, if you're in the, if you want to go to support@kinesiologyinstitute.com, I want to be notified on all webinars so I can make sure you get those. And sometimes, by the way, just to note, our emails end up in spam or promotions folders. So always check there. And I even find I get emails from my own website that go to test, and they'll end up sometimes in that. So you beware that we're going to be doing lots of webinars coming up, and sleep is a key. Now, there's another one for the neurolymphatic points. You're going to go up 2 inches. That's 5 centimeters up for you outside the US, and 1 inch out, which is 2.5 centimeters from the belly button. Rub those points right now. Make a firm belly and rub those. These are often very good for the adrenals. And slow, deep breathing. Also, again, eliminating sugar from your diet. That stresses the adrenals. Then here is the point called the tonification point that gets energy going into the triple warmer meridian. It's between the ring finger on the back of the hand. These are metacarpals. And you're going to be right there between the ring finger and little finger on the back of the hand. And that is triple warmer 3. You can rub that firmly. So you can give those points. Now there's also the meridian trace, which a lot of people find very helpful. You go from the ring finger up like this to the ear ring and make a ring around the ear. So try that 3 times. Okay, from the back of the hand, ring finger, back of the arm, it's like the middle of the forearm, going up here, goes to right around where the ear ring would be, ring around the ear, and ends at the brow. The adrenals are on the same circuit as the thyroid, and they're often, people have low thyroid, low adrenal. There's also vitamin C in the nutrition. Vitamin C, I take that every day as a supplement. I eat a lot of high vitamin C foods, particularly lemon, and that really helps support the adrenals. The other thing we talked about earlier is the stress release, because often when we're stressing our adrenals is from what we're thinking. So thinking, here's the key. Where your focus goes, energy flows. So focus on feel-good thoughts. When you notice your mind ruminating about, oh God, this happened, I didn't like that, oh, I'm worried about that. Say, wait a minute, let me take a mental break, like a mental helicopter, and let me focus on, wow, who do I love? Who loves me? What can I be thankful for today? And so much we have to be thankful for. When you look at the conditions in so many parts of the world where they're not sure they're going to live through the night, wow, I just gratitude. Gratitude is a great supplement for the adrenals. Focus on what you love and let go of what ain't working for you. Okay, and what's the next question? And take a deep breath, everyone. If you haven't had a great drink of water lately, take a sip, because that's another thing that helps everything, including the adrenals and the colon, is being properly hydrated. So most of us are dehydrated, don't have enough water. And that is a key factor. As Lance is coming up with the next question.
Mainstream media is selling flu season. Please share the techniques for the sinus and lungs.
So mainstream media is selling the flu season. So sinus and lungs techniques. Well, first of all, I would stay away. This is just my personal opinion. Stay away from mainstream media because it often is based on supporting their sponsors, which is the pharmaceutical industry. I have never had a vaccination since I was a child for the flu, and I've never had the flu. And they don't, well, first of all, nutrition. Remember I said about ACEs and zinc, particularly vitamin A, and it's great for the lungs and the sinuses, vitamin C, and zinc, along with vitamin D, D3. Those are nutritional factors. Also, I get out in the fresh air. Often, I'll even leave my windows cracked, and I have air purifiers in my kitchen as well as in my bedroom to keep the air pure. So you want to consider, how can I keep my air pure? Avoid things like Febreze, and also anything that has fragrances. You want to muscle test those. Like I was muscle testing, like my underarm deodorant, and that's testing week. And my shampoos, they're testing week. So now I've got organic deodorants, organic shampoos, organic soaps, and even candles, and incense. The old paraffin candles and even incense can pollute your lungs. Off-gassing from things, so like carpeting. So have as much as you can, leave the windows open and get out in the fresh air. Like I do an exercise on my bike program about 20 to 30 minutes every day where I get out. Fortunately, I live right at the ocean. I ride my bike right along the ocean, and I'm breathing that air coming off the ocean, just breathing that air. And so those are things outside of rubbing points, which we'll get to next, that are very helpful. So have your air as clear as you can, and know that you want to boost your immune system. So the first thing we did today, remember I was having you thump the thymus? I do that every morning, thump it about 50 times. And that helps to boost your immune system. Also, the points that we did on Lance, down the 7, 8 here, that's for spleen. Spleen it boosts your immune system. And so that's a good one to do. It's if you go down from your nipple to the abdomen and then go up and in that space there, try it right now and rub that firmly. That's a good point for you. Now, sinuses, there's a point if you go down from your ears on just below the collarbone, rub out there. Those are neurolymphatics for the sinuses. So breathing slowly and deeply as you do these points. And if they're tender, the greater the tenderness, the greater the extent of the blockage. Now, these points I generally will rub, whenever I think of it, at least 2 to 3 times a day for about, say, 20 to 30 seconds, up to a minute is usually good. And that can help drain the lymph, which any illness basically has sluggish lymph. So the neurolymphatic points are nerves that go into the spine and out to the organs as well as muscles that help the lymph flow. So that helps your body to stay free of that. And also, again, back to if you're eating a lot of sugar, that lowers your immune system, as well as alcohol and, again, processed foods. There's a book by a doctor, I think it's called Metabolica. I can't remember the name of it. This doctor from San Francisco, excellent book. I'll have to think of his name, but he is he's a world expert in diseases, and he finds that the number one causes of pretty much all diseases, or a major cause, is eating processed food. And he says you want to support your liver and eliminate processed foods and sugars. That's simple distinction. By the way, let's do lymphatic points for the liver. It's where the breast meets the chest wall on the right side. So get under your breast and get right there. For men, it's like if you find the nipple, the first rib space under there, you're going in that rib space. Try it with me right now, rubbing back and forth, going out. And what else do you have on the board there, Lance, if anything?
What would be good to reduce or eliminate tonight?
Tinnitus?
Yeah.
Okay, so tinnitus, ringing in the ears. What is good for that? Well, the ileocecal valves can sometimes cause that. And, that's the valve down there. We cover that more in depth in the course so we can figure out whether it's stuck open or stuck closed, if that's a factor. And so that's one thing. So there's also cranials. We cover that in our structural balancing, which I believe we're going to do tomorrow. I'm going to do a whole webinar on our structural kinesiology course. And often the cranials will have a factor there. Other than that, I would say just for now, do the urine rolling technique. And we have any more on the board there, Lance? That's all you see. Okay. Well, again, if you have further questions, folks, send them to support@kinesiologyinstitute.com. I look forward to the opportunity to work with you further. Now, again, the AK Fundamentals course, it's already available. You can start immediately on it. We have webinars every now and then that support you, and you can ask questions, get all your questions answered as we do these routinely. And then you get your 16 CEUs. That means if you have particularly a massage certificate license, you're certified massage and you need CEUs, you can get 16 by doing that. Then you also have a $200 credit. Now, if you've already done our AK Fundamentals, let us know you want to get that $200 credit and you can apply that to any other course. We have that available for you if we've already done it. So just email us again at support saying, hey, I want to claim my $200 credit since you've already done it, and you can apply that to any other course, such as our sports kinesiology program and our advanced courses like our structural kinesiology certification program. So those are coming up as well. So I want to just thank you again for your great participation in learning how you can make your life better and the lives of others better. And I really appreciate you sharing this with other people. The thing is, take what you learned today and go out and use it right away, both for yourself and with your clients. So until I see you again, thank you for making the Kinesiology Institute your best choice in health and wellness education. And we'll see you soon.